Today we are discussing about the client tools. In the client tools, the repository manager is the first tool. So after repository manager, we have designer, workflow manager and workflow monitor. So these are the 4 client tools we have in Informatica. So after creation of the repository and integration service, so we have to configure the repository into repository manager. Means we need to configure the repository into client tools. So this is the first tool, repository manager. To open this repository manager, go to start, all programs, Informatica Power Center. In this client, in client you have repository manager, designer, workflow manager and monitor. So first we are configuring the repository into repository manager. Okay, so after selecting that, automatically it will open this window. So here we need to configure the repository first. So go to repository tab in menu bar, click on configure domains. So it will show what are the available repositories in administration side. It will display here. So which repository you want, just enable that repository, check that box, automatically it will configure into the client. So in the first class we created REP1. So now I am selecting REP1. Then click on OK. At a time we can select multiple repositories also. So now we selected only REP1. Click on OK. So now it's connected to the repositories. Double click on this to connect to this repository. Here enter username and passwords. Now we are using administrator user. Okay, same password. Click on OK. It's connected, right? So here we have that folder. So when it is a new repository, this type of folders will not get. So we have to prepare folders here first after connecting to the repository. So in real time, like this repositories, we have 2 or more repositories. So for production in any project, we have separate repository. For testing and development, based on the client requirement, they will prepare single or separate repositories. Okay. So if for example for development and testing, if they are using the same repository, then they will create separate folders for each and every department. Like for development is separate folders and for testing is separate folders. Each and every folder contain their own privileges to connect to the particular users and particular groups. So we can restrict user privileges and group privileges to connect to the folders and repositories. Okay, so now I'm creating a new folder. Go to folder in menu, click on create. Okay, enter any name, test I'm giving, and permissions. So if you have other users and other groups, you can add that groups and user. So you can edit the privileges like read, write, execute permissions put to the particular users and groups. Okay, so now we have only administrator user. So using that user we connected to the repository. So administrator is the super user, that's why read, write, execute privilege is automatically enabled. Okay, so after creation of this, just click on OK. The folder has been successfully created. Okay, 2 folders we have in this repository. So like this we can create multiple folders. Using folders we are working with designer, workflow manager and monitor, other client tools. So in the folders from designer we are connecting into the particular repository in that particular folders. After connecting to the particular folders, then we can start the development code, importing the sources, importing the targets, creation of mapping, sessions, workflows, everything. Okay, so here in repository manager, the first step is, first we need to configure the repositories into the repository manager, then connecting to the repository, then creating the new folders. So these are the basic steps. After this we have advanced concepts also here. So after creation of mapping, sessions and workflows in other tools, designer, workflow manager, like that. So after creation of the entire code, then we are importing and exporting from one department to another. Means the deployment thing we are doing from one folder to another folder or one repository to another repository using repository manager only. So here you have option to import and export objects from one folder to another folder or one repository to another repository. Okay, the code movement we are doing from the repository manager. So these are the advanced thing here we are doing. Okay, after creation of designer, in designer and workflow, after creation of sessions, workflows, everything you will get here under folders. After configuration folder you will get all code related things, mapping folders, workflow folders, session folders. So from there we can import and export the entire code from one department to another department. Okay, so this is the Power Center repository manager. This is the first tool in the client. So after this we are going to discussing about the designer. Thank you.